All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another coaching video. Today we're going to be talking about something that is close to my heart. It's one of the coolest things about the sport, and it's probably why I love arm wrestling so much. And it's of course the longevity of the sport. We see arm wrestlers arm wrestling at the highest and most competitive level well into their 50s and 60s. Now, there are some arm wrestlers out there, 70 years old, 80 years old, that are still competing at the pro level at a very high level. And this is just something that's so rare in any other sport. You just don't see it. And it's so unique, it's so cool. And I have a dream. I've always dreamt of arm wrestling my grandchildren and even great-grandchildren. When I'm on my deathbed, still being able to enjoy the time with them and grouping up with them and having battles back and forth. Because I think that at age 85, as long as you're not sick, you still could be actually competitive with adult male competitors. Like for me, I think that's totally normal. So it's incredibly rare, and there's a few characteristics in arm wrestling that make that possible, and I wanted to talk about them today, and I guess encourage you guys who are on the journey of arm wrestling to stay with it and to be patient with it, because it will reward you in the most amazing way that you'll get to be part of a sport and a community for a very, very, very long time. And you can be at your best many years from now. So the three factors, let's talk about them. The three factors that make an arm wrestler a talented arm wrestler. Let's just say, first of all, technique. Like all sports, you do need to understand how to move. So naturally, as an arm wrestler, you're going to learn how to move and all those sorts of things before you really get into things. Then there is musculature strength. So the contractile tissue of your bicep is obviously going to be a factor. Same with your forearm flexors, same with your ability to bring your shoulder across center, same with your pronation. All these things are just factors to do with muscular strength, how much peak force you can generate through those muscles and transfer into your opponent. Now, this all sounds very normal. This all sounds like a lot of other sports so far. But then there's this magical third factor called joint conditioning. And joint conditioning is so very unique in its effect within arm wrestling compared to that of other sports because of the very strange things that we ask our bodies to do when we're professional arm wrestlers. Now, when I say strange things, I'm talking about going sideways. Our bodies are designed to just move within the range of our joints. But in arm wrestling, we have a very demanding and very sometimes difficult thing to get accustomed to in the first place, expectation of our elbows to be able to tolerate significant amounts of side pressure. Now, I had an opportunity to pull against one legend of the sport named Ron Barth. Last year, I got to pull Ron Barth. He has been competing for 42 years at the professional level when I faced him. Now, I am only, at the time, 39 years old and had been arm wrestling about 11 years. Now, I sat down with Ron after the match, and Ron beat me. Keep that in mind, Ron beat me. Ron, this legend, 62 years old, he beat me. And I asked him, Ron, where was your peak within the sport? Within the musculature sense, within the conditioning sense? And he said to me, between ages 40 and 45, he felt like he was at his strongest. That's when, in respect to the muscles and force that he was able to generate, that was kind of the high point. But Ron is still, to this day, so relevant within the 110 kilo class, the 105 kilo class, at the highest level. He can still be within the top 10 overall in the world, yet his peak was in age 40 to 45 and he's now 62. How does he do that? It's because joint conditioning just accumulates in this sport. It never goes backwards. Of course, there is the potential to go backwards in respect to injury, but if we assume and manage to protect ourselves from injury, this sport will reward you by adding layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of joint conditioning. Now, joint conditioning is what will make your elbow be able to tolerate side pressure. And in an offensive sense, it will allow you to use endurance. One of the big styles of arm wrestling is joint-based arm wrestling. And whenever I say joint-based arm wrestling, I'm referring to the fact that you can lean on your joint. Okay, if you have stability the wider someone's elbow, the more conditioning through the medial epicondyle and all of the ulnar nerve and the radial nerve and all of the muscles that intertwine through the junctions of the elbow. And there's too many for me to try to name them, and I'm not good at naming them. But the biceps, the brachialis, the brachioradialis, all those different things, and the forearm flexors come together to form this stable joint that, yes, only travels back and forth in this regular direction, but also has an ability to sustain side pressure without the risk of it blowing up and causing an injury. Now, for someone like Ron, for someone who's been in the sport for a long time, that just keeps on getting better. And as it gets better, like I said, you can use it in the match to have sustainable force. You can get weaker in your muscles as you age, but still be getting better in your conditioning, and your net result can still be the same. The beautiful thing is, like, muscles can grow very quickly. Muscles can grow. We see it in young guys all the time within the sport. They can be strong very quickly, but you can't rush conditioning. It only comes. Now, I've been in arm wrestling for almost 12 years now, and I can feel the chapters of conditioning getting better and better and better as I go on. And it's truly exciting, because with that conditioning becomes a great ability to stop your opponent, and it complements, it adds to the musculature that you've got. There are arm wrestlers out there who don't use their joints, that really focus on keeping the lane within their musculature. Those arm wrestlers tend to, an arm wrestler that stays in the musculature zone only and never becomes a joint-based arm wrestler does tend to fade out earlier. I see a lot of young Eastern European style arm wrestlers come and do really well in the sport, but then go again. And it's because they never stick around long enough to develop the joints to a degree where the joints themselves become the weapon. A lot of North American arm wrestlers think people like Todd Hutchins, Ron Barth, John Brzenk, Michael Todd, Dave Chafee, Devin Larratt, all these guys straight away fall into the category of having great joint conditioning. And no matter how old they get, they just keep performing at the level of being the top 10 in the world. And you think, my goodness me, isn't this an amazing and special factor? So in order to develop this, there's only one answer. There's only one answer to develop joint conditioning, and that is patience and consistency. You can try to target joint conditioning. You can train your side pressure through your elbow and through your wrist, but you can only make it happen so quickly. Blood flow in ligaments, blood flow in tendons is only a fraction compared to that of muscle fiber. So the damage when you do damage to those soft tissue, it takes longer to heal. Okay, we've all experienced that. When you get a sore elbow, when you first start arm wrestling, it takes a long time to get conditioned to the pain, and it takes a long time for that pain to start backing down. But once it starts to back down, okay, good. And as you get better and higher on the rankings, and your level progresses, and you start to tolerate greater and greater forces, you will always be putting yourself in this condition of being sore. And then you'll recover, and then you'll be sore. But it always adds a layer. So patience, consistency, discipline is the answer. That is the only thing that will get you to the point of conditioning of a Ron Barth. 42 years of arm wrestling at the highest level, his elbows would be phenomenal. If you were to put him under the knife and look at his joints, if a surgeon was to look at his joints, he would say, "Oh my goodness, look at the thickness of these ligaments and tendons in his elbows. How is this possible?" The body adapts. The body adapts, and this sideways pressure and the conditioning through the elbow and the wrist really is the biggest factor why old man strength is such a significant thing in arm wrestling. And to try to understand it, to give you a picture of what it feels like when you grip one of these guys that have significant elbow conditioning, I would say this. I can get a young guy, right, and an old guy that are both arm wrestlers, and they have the same 1 rep maximum on their bicep. They have the same 1 rep maximum on their wrist flexion, they have the same 1 rep maximum on their pronation in respect to the gym. All things are the same. But the young guy's been arm wrestling 5 years and the old guy's been arm wrestling 40 years. When I grip both of these guys who are exactly the same strength, the young guy will feel like a rubber band. And the old guy, his strength will be instantaneous. I'll feel like I'm arm wrestling against a chain. Now, I may be strong enough to overwhelm them. Overwhelming the young guy will feel smooth. It'll feel like, okay, it won't send any shock waves into my elbow. But arm wrestling the old guy, it'll be like, bang, oh, what is that? It will hurt me because he has better conditioning than I do, as someone who's been in the sport almost 12 years. So conditioning feels like instantaneous threat. Conditioning feels like a chain, and it is an amazing, amazing factor about the sport. All right, guys, that wraps up that one. I hope you enjoyed that. Guys, if you want one-on-one coaching, hit me up via the link that's in the description. I do it all via Instagram these days. $30 a month will get you one-on-one coaching where you can message me anytime. Ask me any question. Send me videos of you arm wrestling, of your opponent's arm wrestling. I'll review it, help you become the professional arm wrestler that you are trying to become. But anyway, guys, hope you're well. Stay patient with it. It takes a long time, and it just gets better and better and better and better. All right, guys.